Blessings, 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 blessings. I want to welcome you to Deliver Me Nuggets. My name is Apostle AleciaBiggers. I first want to say I do not own the rights to this music. This is Feel the Music by Michael Bethany. Feel the Room by Michael Bethany. I do not own the rights to this music. I pray that everyone is doing good on this New Year's Eve. And so I got a message, a nugget that's going to carry you, that you want to make sure you apply to your life, that you do not carry it into the new year. And so what I want to talk about is don't take the drama in the new year. Don't take drama in the new year. Why am I saying don't take the drama in the new year? I'm saying it on purpose, because we got to begin to understand that the enemy is a trickster. The devil is a liar. He's not a man with a pitchfork. It's a demonic spirit that needs a body, and it needs the body of a human being to keep you trapped into confusion, to keep you trapped into an argument, disagreement, fussing, fighting, murmuring and complaining. And this is what the enemy, he uses other people to get you out of place so that you can get an attitude, you can get mad, you can get upset, you can get frustrated, you can get disappointed. And guess what this does? It stops you from discerning the blessing of the Lord. So many times we get caught up in our flesh and we get caught up in the moment and we say, I'm going to let them have it. I'm going to cuss them out. I'm going to get them a piece of my mind. Not understanding the enemy wants you to do the exact thing that you're doing in your flesh. You got to begin to understand that the devil wants you to stop the blessing. Can I tell you a secret? You got to know what the devil does. When God has released a blessing upon you, this is where the enemy comes to come into attack mode to get you out of the will of God. And so when you find yourself getting upset, getting mad, and then the enemy wants you to rehearsal the pain. He wants you to rehearsal the frustration, the disappointment, what they said, what they did. And he want to get you all up in your feelings. He want to get you start talking crazy, saying foolish things. Why? Because he wants you to release death out of your mouth. The Bible begins to say in Proverbs 18:21, death and life is in the power of your tongue. And so when we get mad and we get upset and we start talking foolish, we start talking crazy, what we fail to realize that you're releasing death. Death means things that are going to separate you from God. Death means things that's going to make you blind from what the enemy is trying to do. So the enemy want to put you at a place for you to be blind, and he wants you to be in your feelings, and he wants you to stay stuck in 2024, and he wants you to take all that drama, what you dealt with in 2024, he wants you to bring it into 2025. You got to begin to understand that this is a choice. This is a decision. And you got to make up your mind and say, no. I'm not going to bring this into my new. I'm not going to bring this into my new beginning. You got to begin to understand. You got to know how to walk by faith and not by sight. You got to know sometimes the enemy will use people and people don't even know or realize that they're being used by the devil. And you got to begin to be the mature one to say, you know what? I'm going to pray for them. Hear me. I know that this hard. I know that you don't like what they said. I know you don't like what they did, but you got to be intentional. If you're going to walk in the blessed place where God wants you to walk in, you got to know how to control your emotions. If you don't know how to control your emotions and you get in your feelings, and guess what? The devil going to pull you out of the will of God and call you in a place where you'll find yourself in a place being depressed, being upset, being frustrated, being disappointed, and you'll say, you know, I thought God said this was going to be he was going to do a new thing. I thought God was going to turn things around. But guess what? You got to be a part of this turnaround. You got to be a part of You got to know how to hold your composure and say, you know what? This battle is not mine. This battle is the Lord. So many times, you know what? You got to let some people have the last word. You know what? Sometimes, you know, I got to let them know. I got to tell them, no, 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 no. You got to begin to understand that God got something bigger for you. You don't want to take this stuff into your new year. I got a scripture for you. The scripture that I got for you, it's in Isaiah 43, verse 18. He said, do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. He said, behold, I will do a new thing, and now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? You got to understand God is doing a new thing, but the enemy wants you to stay in the old place. And so you got to understand, when somebody come at you in attack mode, they come at you mad and in their feelings, in their emotions. You got to understand God is trying to do a new thing in your life, and God is trying to bring some blessings to you. God is trying to get some things to you. And so many times we miss it because we feel like we got to go rail for rail, or we got to go back and forth, and not understanding there comes a time where God will tell you to be quiet and say, stand still and let me fight your battle. This is where you got to have some tough skin. This is where you got to let them talk. You got to let people think whatever that they want to think. You got to let people throw shade. You got to let people do whatever that they feel like that they need to do. And this is what you got to say, God, I trust you. God, I trust you. You said that you'll fight against those who fight against me. You said you'll contend against those who contend against me. This is where you should not be allowing people to pull you back, because you got to understand, yes, it hurt. Yes, they hit you below the belt. Yes, they said some stuff that they know that they shouldn't have said. Yes, they threw in your face some information that you shared with them, and they shouldn't have never said nothing about it. But guess what? God is showing you how these people really feel about you. He's letting you know what's coming out their mouth. You got to understand, when you listen to what comes out of a person's mouth, you're listening to how they really feel about you. And God said, I'm doing a new thing. He said, I'm trying to show you. And so many times we trying to take the old people into our new, and God is allowing things to happen so you can cut strings. Can I tell you, this is the season that God is going to cut ties. He's cutting ties with some of those people who don't mean you no good. He cutting ties with some of them people who are just dead weight. Can I tell you, sometimes people hang around you just to be a dead weight. Sometimes people hang around with you because it's all in what they can get. They not going where you going, or they not trying to help you. They're not being supportive, but they just being their way. And so this is where you got to begin to look at it and see what is good. That's when you got to say, God, what you trying to show me about this situation? What you trying to show me about this person? Because God said, no, you got to understand, in 2025, you got to guard your peace. You got to maintain your peace. You got to make up your mind. I ain't going to let nobody disturb my peace. If you're coming to disturb my peace, if me and you can't talk together like adults, you know what? I'm not going to let you disturb my peace, because the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? And if you got people that don't want to agree with you, people that don't want to talk with you, you got to understand God is trying to show you this is a season where now that person's season in your life has ended. Can I tell you, so many times we be trying to bring people into our summer, spring, fall, and winter, and every person got a season in your life. And so many times we trying to carry people into a season that God's saying, you know what, you have carried them as far as you can carry them in this next place. They cannot go with you. And so many times we be trying to pull them, and you got to understand, if you got to fight somebody, that's an indication that they're not meant to go to your next. If you got to try to please and beg them and do all of that, that's an indication that this is an end for that relationship. That's the end for that person, because you got to understand where you're going. Guess what? People got to know who you are. They got to know where you're going, and they say, you know what, we're going to roll with this thing. We're going to work through this thing, and we finna make it do what it do. And so when you got somebody that's willing to work with you, you can go to that next place. But when you got somebody that's trying to fuss and fight and argue, they don't want to listen, they want to throw shade, they want to fight, they want to hurt, you got to begin to understand this is a season that God is trying to show you that it is over. This is where you got to ask God to guard your heart. This is where you got to say, God, help me to let them go. God, help me to move on. So many times we just think that we just got to automatically do it. No, you got to ask God to help you. Because guess what? We love people. We appreciate people. But sometimes we be want people, and God's saying their season is up. And so if that person's season is up in your life, you got to know how to love them from afar off. You got to know how to love them as they move on. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means that you know what? Y'all are not going in the same direction. And so how do you know that this person is not the person that you need to take? When they keep bringing up drama, when they keep keeping up mess, when they keep up confusion, when they constantly want to fuss, when you're constantly bumping heads, this is an indication that that relationship is over with. Because people that genuinely love you, guess what? You're going to work it out. You're going to be able to talk. That's why the Bible says Amos 3:3. How can two walk together unless they agree? And if me and you don't want to agree with me and you can't walk together. And so this is what we got to be intentional. If you're going to have a good year in 2025, you have to be intentional. You got to stop thinking that things are just going to be automatic. God is just going to automatically make things better for you. No, that's a lie. No, you got to be intentional, and you got to be very much involved of knowing, you know what, this is what I want in my life. This is where I'm going in this direction. Do you want to go in this direction? Because if you don't want to go in this direction, you know what, I love you, but you know what, let us separate. Let me go my way and you go your way, and I love you. Sometimes we got to be able to understand and to leave people where they at and love them. It's not being mad, it's not throwing shade, it's not being ugly, but understanding that you got to move forward. And this is where you got to move intentionally. This is where sometimes you got to walk away from some friendships, walk away from some loved ones, some people who you thought that was dearly going to always be there with you. But you got to know how to guard your peace. And if you find that your peace have been disrupted, you find yourself that you cannot be happy where you at. This person don't want to see you happy. This person don't want to go in the direction that you're going in. This is where you got to know that now the ball is in your court. And when the ball is in your court, now you got to do something about it. This is where you got to stop thinking that, you know what, I'm going to just let God do it. No, God is trying to show you. God is trying to show you. And so many times God is trying to show us, but because we don't know how to recognize when God is showing us a person. He's showing us a person when it's constantly like this, and there's no agreement. There's no peace. When you don't have any peace in your heart, there's no peace in your mind, God is revealing to you that person. He's showing you that there's a spirit in that person that's not agreeing with you. And so therefore, this is going to cause you some confusion. And that's why he said in Isaiah 43:18, he says, so don't remember the former things. So this is where you got to let it go. You got to let it go. Can I tell you, sometimes you may not understand why people are doing what they're doing. You may not understand why they said what they said. Yes, they hit you below the belt, but you got to know and say, God, I trust you. This is where you got to ask God to help you and stop thinking that, you know, I'm going to wait till they apologize. No, this is where you got to move forward. Because guess what? Sometimes some people ain't going to never give you an apology. Some people is never going to come back to you. And so many times people are wasting time waiting on somebody. Well, I'm waiting on my mama to come back. I'm waiting on my daddy to come back. I'm waiting on my sister to come back. When you are wasting time waiting on somebody to come tell you that they sorry, when really they don't even know why they did what they did. Some people are so traumatized. They're so toxic. They like confusion. They like the chaos. And so therefore, they was in your life just to keep you in a place of chaos and toxicity. And so you got to understand, sometimes you got those family members, those friends, those people who you just assume we've been their friends for 20 years, 30 years. And you got to begin to understand the enemy just had them in your life to get on your last nerve. And this is where God said, open up your eyes so you can see the truth. And you got to begin to understand, you know what? I got to walk away. You got to be willing to walk away and give them to God. This is not talking about them. This is not trying to throw them up under the bus. This is not sharing things that they share with you. This is where you saying, God, I'm giving them to you. Because the Bible say, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. God is the one that's going to deal with them. He's the one that's going to deal with their heart. But you got to focus on what you want. This is where in 2025, you got to write down on paper where you want to go, where you want to be, what you want to do. Too many times we're wondering about what they did, what they said. Listen, there's no reason to be crying and talking about spilled milk. No, what we need to be doing is, what are we going to do to stop feeling sorry for ourselves? What are we going to do so we can start over? He said, behold, I'm doing a new thing. That's why God said, in order, if you're going to walk in the new thing, you're going to have to let the former thing go. If you're going to walk in the new thing, you got to stop talking about the old thing. So many times God trying to get you to focus on what you need to do, to focus on these new relationships, these new people that he's connecting you with. But if you keep looking back, you're going to miss who God has put in your life to help you to go forward. And you don't want to miss your opportunities and blessings because you still talking to old people about old things that have hurt you, that have disappointed you. And now you can't do nothing because instead of looking at 2025, you still looking at 2024. And so now you're bringing that old mess, that old mindset. Can I tell you, you got to deal with that even old mindset. Your mindset will try to rehearse it. You remember what they said? You remember what they did to you? That thing is a demonic spirit. You got to know that that's a spirit in your mind. You even got to shut down people come telling you, you know what they said. You know what they're trying to do, right? You got to say, you know what? I don't even want to hear it. God bless them. I'm moving on. This is where you got to go forward because here and let them talk. So many times we feel like we got to defend our name. And God would say, you know what? Let them talk. You know what? You got to let them do whatever that they feel that they need to do. And this is where you got to begin to say, you know what, God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to get around people that's going in the direction that I'm going in. This is where you got to educate yourself. In 2025, where you want to be at, you got to educate yourself to be around those people. If you got to go back to school, if you're going to start a business, you need to look at and find you a mentor, somebody who's walking in what you want to walk in. And you know what, ask them, you know what, can I talk to you? Can we have dinner? Can we talk about this? This is where you got to be intentional to say, you know what, I don't want to be where I'm at. This is where you know, if you're going to start with some new friends or whatever, this is where you got to stop. Don't even go where the old friends at. Begin to branch out. Do something new. Go to new places. Go begin to take you a class. Go begin to say, you know what, I'm going to counseling. You know, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. Have you learned from your mistakes? Begin to write down, you know what lessons have you learned? Write down 3 lessons that you learned in 2024. Because so many times, if you are not aware of what you're doing, guess what? Subconsciously, you'll do that same thing in 2025. But this is where you got to be intentional and say, let me write down 3 lessons that I learned that really hurt me dearly in 2024, that I got to make sure that I don't bring that in my 2025. Can I tell you, this is where you even got to write down some goals that you know, oh, this is what I want to see in my life, and you got to stick with it. You got to begin to say, I'm not going to let nobody get me out of place. I'm not going to let nobody frustrate me. I'm not going to change because of what somebody else said, but I'm going to hold on to dear life for what God got for me. This is where, if you know you got a business, this is where you got to say, you know what, I'm going to work my business. I'm going to find me a scripture for my business. I'm going to be praying for my business. I'm going to get me a tablet. This is where you got, the Bible say, write the vision, make it plain. This where you want to write down what you want to see. This is where you got to say, you know what, this is between me and God. And God, you know what, I'm going to make a vow that this is what I'm going to pray about. This is what I'm going to focus about. This is where, you know, if you're talking about you want to move, begin to go in the neighborhood where you want to move. Begin to walk the grounds and begin to say, you know what, this is where I want to be at. This is the type of house that I have. Go and begin to look at the furniture. Make up your mind, because if you keep on, you know, I can't believe that I got evicted. I can't believe that I'm staying with somebody. See, that All of that, it keeps you in a place of depression. It keeps you in a place of frustration. It keeps you in a place of disappointment. You got to begin to understand you ain't going to never go forward. Can I tell you, starting over is not bad? So many times we don't want to start over because people, can I tell you, people going to talk about you when you're doing good. People going to talk about you when you're doing bad. So guess what? This is where you got to just let them talk. If they talked about Jesus, you got to know that they're going to talk about you. And you got to begin to start over. And as you're starting over, this is where you are educating yourself. You know what? I'm going to love me more. I'm going to spend time with me. Instead of me spending time helping everybody else, I'm going to spend time for me. I got to make sure that I'm not even going to let my friends call me, girl, what you going? I'm dealing with this. Listen. I love you. But you know what? We're not going to start the year out with that. If I'm decluttering my life, you know what? I'm suggesting that's what you need to do. I cannot be your trash can. Can I tell you, so many times people want you to be their trash can. They'll call you and they'll want to just dump their mess on you. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. And they'll tell you all the stuff that they're going through. And they say, you know what? I feel so much better that I got that out. You know why they got that out? Because now they don't just dump it on you. And then you find out every time they want to call you when they want to dump stuff out. But then here it is, they're never there for you. You got to begin to understand what this person is doing. They're dumping their mess on you. You can't let nobody dump their drum. Tell, hey, I love you with the love of the Lord, but listen, I can't do it, baby. You know what? If I'm dealing with my issues, you got to deal with your. I don't mind us talking, but it's like every time you always bringing your stuff on me. You always talking about what you going through to me. Guess what? Do you ever have any good days? What are you doing to change these things? Sometimes people want to keep talking to you about what they dealing with, and they don't want to make no changes. You got to begin to understand that those are the people that the enemy are putting your life to keep you stuck, because guess what? The only friendship that you and that person had was y'all kept exchanging what they going through, what she going through, what he going through, what you going through. And that's the only basis that y'all have in a relationship. Can I tell you, you got to be intentional. If you're going to be in a relationship, guess what? You're going to have to bring something to the table. You're going to have to bring some encouragement to the table. If I'm giving you encouragement, guess what? You're going to have to give me some encouragement. If I'm blessing you, guess what? You're going to have to bless me. You got to understand, don't bring that so pitiful me. We've been knowing each other for 20 years, 30 years, and guess what? And you have not seen any fruit in the relationship. The only thing you can say is we friends, but yet you have not seen nothing else. You got to begin to understand, begin to weigh your friendships, begin to look at it. And can I tell you, you need to set boundaries that, you know what, sometimes you see that people are not going in the direction that you're going in. And guess what? So I'm not going to be investing my time and effort with somebody who don't want anything. If you're not trying to make any changes, guess what? I'm not going to just sit up there, be listening to you, hearing all your stuff. And then, yeah, you sit up there, I tell you, I want to go to school. Well, if I were you, I just think you too old about going to school. You tell me you want to get a house. If I were you, I wouldn't start getting no house right now. Look how old you is. I wouldn't get myself into no mortgage 30 years and you are already 50 years. See, this is exactly what I'm saying. How do you know it's going to take me 30 years to pay off the house? How do you know I may pay it off in 15 years? How do you know I may pay it off in 10 years? You don't know what I have. This is where you got to be intentionally and stop allowing and bringing folks these familiar spirits, because we assuming, I talked about this Sunday, sometimes the enemy will have dysfunctional people in your life, and the only thing that they give you is familiarity to your trouble. Some people are in your life because of where you was at in that bad place. That's where you met them at, and when you met them there, they've been in your life to be as a thorn to keep you right there. And you got to begin to understand, if I'm gonna move forward, I don't have time for no thorns to keep being in my flesh. I don't have time to keep somebody who's just keep being in my life, keep talking about the old, but then yet you don't want to deal with the new. No, you got to make up your mind, and you got to be intentional. This is why he say you got to do not remember the former things. God is not going to put no gun to your head. God is not going to tie you down and say, don't you remember? No, you got to be intentional. You got to say, nope, I'm not. You got to say, God, help me. Take away these thoughts, those old memories, those old dreams. Some of us got to do cleanup. You got to go through your house. You got to remove some of them old things that bring about them old memories. You got to remove some of them old pictures. You got to remove some of them old love letters. You got to remove the old stuff that's keeping you in a place of being stuck. Sometimes we're trying to move forward, but you got all the stuff that reminds you of the person in your life. You got to be willing to know, I got to clean this stuff up. I got to throw this stuff away, because guess what? If you're expecting new, if you're expecting better, you got to get rid of the old stuff, because see, if not, you're going to be bringing that same drama. How you going to get somebody out your mind and you looking at a picture that they gave you? You standing up there looking at the clothes that they gave you. You're looking at things that remind you of them. It's in your house. No, you bringing that stuff in 2025. You got to be willing to get rid of that stuff and say, you know what, I'm going forward, so I'm getting rid of anything that's toxic, anything that's going to bring me drama. This is where you got to delete some people out your phone. You got to delete some people from your social media friends group. This is where you got to be willing to clean up all the drama, get the drama out, get anything that's going to cause you chaos, anything that's going to deal with your peace, anybody who said that they love you, but yet they started hurting you. This is where you got to be honest with yourself and say, you know what, this is drama. They saying that they love me, but they keep on hurting me. You got to know that that's drama. They sit up there saying that they want to do better, but they keep doing the same thing. You got to understand that it's drama. They don't want to go nowhere. They like what they're doing. Some people just like to hear themselves talk. Some people just like to feel like, you know what, they doing something, and they keep talking about the old. They keep talking about the old, but they do not know how to deal with 2025. They ain't even looking forward to it. You know what, you looking at them, they still watching. Hear me, I like the Jeffersons, I like Sanford and Son, but sometimes you got to check out some of these people 24/7. Every day they watching the Jeffersons, they watching Sanford and Son. Everything is old. They watching the Andy Griffin all day long. They watching the Westerns. They don't want to have nothing to do with nothing in modern day time. You dealing with a person that's stuck in the past. They stuck. They don't want to deal with their reality, and you got to understand this is what a lot of people are with, because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with, they don't make some wrong decisions. They don't deal with, they don't got in contact with the wrong person. And guess what? It's so easy. This is what some people get to drinking. Some people get to smoking. Some people getting high, doing weed, because they don't want to deal with their reality. You got to understand, just because you smoke that weed, yeah, it's a temporary. You're putting a Band-Aid over the situation, but guess what? After that high, you still in that same mess. This is where you got to face the elephant in the room. You got to deal with that elephant that's trying to tell you this craziness. You got to deal with that elephant that's telling you it's going to be all right. No, it's going to be all right when you deal with it. This is where you got to love yourself. You got to love yourself enough to say, you know what, I got to confront some things. Can I tell you, in order for there to be peace, you got to deal with the war. You got to be able to war against those things, talk about those things that you don't want to talk about. You got to be willing to look at the ugly things that you don't want to deal with if you want to move forward. We got to stop thinking that moving forward is going to be a piece of cake. No, it ain't. No, you're going to have to deal with your stuff. You're going to deal with the unresolved issues. And guess what? You're going to have to shut the door to it. You're going to say, I shut the door. I shut the door. I shut the door. I'm not going to allow the people to bring me frustration. I'm not going to allow people to bring me disappointment. I'm not going to listen up my ear to negativism. This is where you got to shut yourself down for stuff. Because if you don't shut yourself down and you keep listening to it, guess what? It's going to bother you. And you keep, I wonder why they said this. I wonder why they did that. I wonder why they focused this. You know what? I ain't even finna try to. Because again, you got to know what relationships are worth fighting for. Those relationships that are worth fighting for, these are going to be the people that's going to talk with you. These are going to be people that say, you know what, let us reason together. The Bible said, let us reason together. Let us begin to talk. Let us begin to listen to one another. Let us see where the enemy is coming to use us against each other. You got to understand, if you're not dealing with a person that don't want to listen, a person that don't want to talk about it, a person that just want to hold on and stay in their feelings, that person is not willing to fight for the relationship. So guess what? It takes two people to fight for a relationship. And so therefore, one person can't fight for a relationship. It's going to take two. And so therefore, if the other person don't want to fight for it, you got to now realize that, you know what, they don't want it. This is where you got to realize that you wanted something more than another person did. And so therefore, when you realizing that they didn't want it as much as you did, now you got to begin to say, God, help me, because here it is. Now I'm disappointed. Now I'm hurt. hurt, because here it is. I thought that me and this person had an understanding, but now to realize that we do not have an understanding. So I need you to help me to forgive them. Father, help me where I do not be bitter. Help me where I do not resent them, but I'm going to pray for them. Can I tell you, your flesh is not going to want to pray for them. Your flesh is not going to want to say nothing, but this is what you got to know. Do what you need to do. Why? Because this is what's going to help you to move forward. Because when you're moving forward, you're going to begin to see where God wants you to be at. Because see, the enemy is coming to bring this as a smoke screen. He's coming to bring these distractions to get you so discombobulated that you can't see what God want to do. See, this is where you got to say, speak, Holy Spirit, your servant is listening. You got to say, speak, because I'm listening to what it is that you want to do in my life. When is the last time you asked God, reveal to me what you want to do in my life? Reveal to me what you want to do in 2025. Reveal to me where you want me to go. Reveal to me where you want me to work at. Reveal to me where you want me to stay at. Reveal to me those relationships that I need to fight for. Reveal to me those relationships that I need to let go. This is where you need to get in a quiet place and let God reveal to you and show you what he want to show you about these things, and stop just assuming that everybody is for you, everybody love you. Can I tell you, everybody don't love you, everybody's not going to support you, everybody don't mean the best for you. And so this is what we got to know, how to begin to be a good pastor over our life and know who God got for us and who he does not have for us. Because so many times, this is why Judas went everywhere the other disciples went. Because guess what? Sometimes we can be walking around with people who do not like us. We can be walking around with people who just tolerate us. And can I tell you, in 2025, you need to know those who are just tolerating you. You need to know those who are just an associates, and you need to know those who are real friends. Because can I tell you, everybody who said that they're a friend really is not a friend. This is why you need to set boundaries. You don't need to be allowing an associate to come into your close spot. You don't need to be letting an associate listen to things that you're talking about, because guess what? This is just a person you just talk to from day to day at work. This is a person you just talk to, hey and goodbye every now and then. This is not a person that you should be letting them know things that you're going to do in your life, big moves you're going to make in your life. Can I tell you, you got to know when to be quiet. Some people, sometimes we're talking too much. In 2024, we have talked too much and we still have not learned the lesson. This is where you got to know how to be quiet, because guess what? If you're going to walk in the blessings God got for you, this is where you got to stop talking so much, because everybody who said that they love you don't love you. You telling them what you want and they on the other end talking against it, praying against it, hoping that you don't get it. And because you don't told them too much about what you want to do. And this is where you got to begin to wake up and begin to understand that 2025, you got to move in a place of being quiet. You got to move quiet, move in a step mode that you're doing what you need to do. You're moving in secret. Why? Because the Bible says don't let your right hand know what your left hand doing. You got to know that there's some things that God want to give you, and he don't want you to blubber it out to everybody. There's some things that God want to do. He don't want you to tell everybody, because everybody don't have your best interest. And so therefore you want to make sure that you filter through all of this as I get ready to come to a close. Because guess what? Drama is going to do what drama does, and it's going to bring drama. So if you find yourself yelling, you find yourself hollering, you find yourself, you unease, your chest hurt, you're frustrated, you're disappointed, you're depressed, you're hostile, you got to understand the enemy is looking for a way, because he wants you to not let it go. He wants you to hold on to it. And he wants you to be mad that, I'm going to go to sleep. Guess what? You holding on to it. He wants you to keep thinking about it over and over in your mind. What you're doing? You're holding on to it. He wants you to not let that thing get off your mind, because he wants you to hold on to it. Isaiah 43 say, do not remember the former things. So that means that you're going to have to let it go. Let it go. You know what? You may have to cry. Go ahead and cry, but let it go. You may have to go outside and yell, but let it go. And when you let it go, say, God, you know what? And I shut the door. I forgive them. Wash me. Cleanse me with your blood. And I need you to heal me of the words that were said. Heal me what was done to me. Heal me. Now I got to move forward. And so now don't go looking on that person's page. Don't go riding by their house. Don't go asking nobody what they doing. This is where now you got to move forward. And you got to be intentional to focus on what it is that you want in 2025. Because if you don't know what you want, guess what? The enemy is going to bring to you what he wants. And this is where you got to keep pulling down negativism. Nope. Keep pulling down negative words. Keep pulling down negative feelings. Nope. I'm not gonna feel like that. Nope. I'm not gonna get an attitude. Nope. I'm not gonna be frustrated. This is where you got the war, because you got to understand the enemy don't want you to walk into this place of maturity. Because when you're walking into this place of maturity, this is the place where God wants to grow you. God wants to mature you, and God wants to show you some things that he got for you. Can I tell you? And God want to put you in the midst of people that you know what, that are mature. They don't want to hear all that murmuring and complain. They don't want to hear all that drama. They're about business. They're about moving forward. They don't want to hear about all that stuff. And so you got to make up your mind and say, you know what? I can't. And don't allow anybody to take you to that place. And so as I come to a close, I pray that this nugget, it don't set something to you. So go back and read Isaiah 43, verse 18 through 19. Because God said, behold, I'm doing a new thing. Can I tell you, he's doing a new thing? It may not feel like he's doing a new thing, but he's doing a new thing. It may not seem like he's doing a new thing, but he's doing a new thing. And you got to understand the reason why this situation came up, because God is doing something new. And the enemy wanted you to respond by your feelings. The enemy wanted you to respond in your flesh, but God's saying, I'm doing a new thing. It is springing forth. Can you not tell? Can you not discern it? And so I'm here to be a watchman to help you to realize that it's springing forward. So don't give in to your feelings. Don't give in to try to defend yourself, but turn the situation over to the Lord and keep your eyes on 2025 and keep speaking and saying where you want to go and leave the past, but in the past. This is Apostle AleciaBiggers, your deliverance coach. If you are interested in being a part of my mentorship, Thursday is the last day to sign up. We will start our classes this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This is a mentorship, only 2 hours a week for 12 weeks. And so Thursday is the last day to sign up for this quarter's mentorship. So if you got any questions, make sure that you inbox me. Also, if you have not got my book, What You Don't Know, is pinned up on my page. It is a book of deliverance. And so therefore, this is some things that you need to know, because what you don't know, it will hurt you. And guess what? It will delay your life if you do not recognize and know how to deal with these things that the enemy sent into your life. And so I love you all with the love of the Lord. I want to tell you all have a happy new year. And I will see you all on Thursday. You all be blessed. I love y'all. Happy New Year.